Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. It's good seeing you guys. It seems like it's been quite a while since I've seen you. We're out here in our backyard just kind of enjoying this fall weather that we're having. It's at that point where it's starting to get cool. You definitely feel that nip in the air and you don't want to be out after the sun goes down, but for a few hours in the late morning, early afternoon, it's just perfect. It might even be a little bit too warm and you have to find the shade of a tree. We're having fun watching our chickens just work the garden that we've gotten all done with for the year, and they're loving finding what we've missed out there, scratching away, and got us to thinking, you know, we've had quite a bit of experience over the years raising chickens. It's been maybe 7 years going, and over that time we've owned quite a few different varieties and a few different breeds, and each one has sort of just been an experiment because you know, you can read all you want online about different breeds and what they're good for, but really the best way to find out what a breed is like is by owning them yourself, honestly, because there's certain things, qualities that both good and bad about every breed, and you just kind of have to experience it yourself. And there's always exceptions. It seems like there's always exceptions to the rule when it comes to reading stuff, reading reviews of chickens online. What I wanted to do for you guys today was to tell you a little bit about our experience that we've had raising chickens. We've owned quite a few different varieties and wanted to let you know what our experience has been. Maybe if you're looking into getting chickens yourself for your homestead, give you a little bit better idea of the varieties you might think about trying first, so you're not totally lost when it comes to the different varieties, because there are quite a few. A lot of what we've got out here, actually, or some of what we've got out here, has become sort of what they call a barnyard mix, where we haven't been particularly selective about our breeding. There is quite a bit of barred rock blood. I'll get into that a little bit later. But there's also some random breeds that have snuck in, and their genes have just sort of crept in and stayed here along the way. But that's all right. There are different varieties we're going to be talking about specifically. Just a quick rundown: Rhode Island Reds, Leghorns, New Hampshires, Buff Orpingtons, Barred Rocks, Black Australops, Americana, Silkies, Bantam Americana mix. Did you get all that? So, tallying that up, we've got about 9 different varieties that we've had experience with, not including our Cornish cross mix, which is strictly meat birds. So let's talk about our first breed, and that is the Rhode Island Reds. We've actually not owned Rhode Island Reds for quite some time now. It's been a while. The thing that I remember about the Rhode Island Reds is that they are fairly hardy. They can last fairly well through a winter if you've got harsh winters in the climate where you live. And like I said, there's upsides and downsides to all of these. The downside to the Rhode Island Reds that we've really experienced is if you get a rooster, they can tend to be very mean. And that is something that you will read on internet reviews. They're just a more aggressive bird. That was actually our oldest when he was, he's 8 years old now. But when he was younger, that was, I think, our first year owning chickens, we had a Rhode Island Red rooster, and that was probably the first experience that our son can remember having with chickens. Was our Rhode Island rooster just up and attacked him. He was about the same size as a Rhode Island rooster, like he was about the same height as a Rhode Island rooster at the time, and he went out to feed them, and the Rhode Island Red went ahead and attacked him. And that was the end of that. That actually ended up being the first chicken I ever butchered. And for that reason. Rhode Island Reds, they are hardy enough, they're decent enough egg layers, but they are aggressive. The second one that we want to talk about is the white Leghorns. These, if you've ever watched the cartoon, you know, Foghorn Leghorn, that's the kind of chicken he is. He's called a Leghorn. They're that white chicken. If you've ever bought eggs, if you ever go to buy eggs in the store, the white eggs that you get, in all likelihood, that is where those white eggs came from, would be the Leghorns. Those are the ones that they keep in the big plants, big egg production plants. Those chickens are in egg-laying plants, are in egg plants for a reason. And that is because they are good egg layers. The downside to Leghorns, as far as our experience goes, they are not that hardy. That was the first egg layer we ever had, was a Leghorn, and they they don't always do the best with colder climates. So if you live in a colder climate like we do, we've discovered we can generally steer away from the Leghorns. They're just not that hardy. Then there was a group of birds, a variety called the New Hampshires. These ones are kind of like the Rhode Island Reds, or in a way, they've got the same kind of coloration, just that kind of pretty reddish color. So the New Hampshires, this breed we got as part of like an end of the year sale. IFA was selling them at a buck. We got them as chicks, and they were selling them at $1 a piece. And we figured for that price, we'd give it a try. If we didn't like them, we could always butcher them, which is exactly what we did. We waited until they grew a little bit, and we butchered them. And that's pretty much been the extent of our experience with the New Hampshires. They didn't even make it a year on our homestead. If some of you have owned New Hampshires, leave a comment down in the comment section below. That may be a breed that we might like to revisit, because we just don't have a whole lot of experience with that yet. The next variety on the list is our buff Orpingtons. Every chicken is different. The buff Orpington, our experience with them has been, we are super pleased with their personality. They just are the sweetest variety of bird. When we lived over at our old house, this was, again, we had, I think, maybe a group of 3 buff Orpingtons, and they were, especially for my wife, they were one of her favorite breeds just because they were so sweet and friendly. I remember when we had our little garden patch that we would work, my wife would even let one or two of our buff Orpingtons out of the chicken area and come alongside her as she would weed or do stuff in our garden, and those buff Orpingtons would just stay right around her, and they would be right there ready to peck at any bugs that my wife would unearth as she was pulling weeds. They just stayed right there with her, hung out, got the bugs as she was pulling up weeds, and they're just the sweetest, softest, like a really good personality bird. I believe their egg production was even okay. The downside for the buff Orpingtons was, again, they're not all that cold hardy. They're more for egg production, and they're got a sweet personality. They may be good for pets, but that's something to be mindful of as you get into the colder climates. Again, they don't do so well with the cold weather, and we lost both of them over the course of a winter. They didn't do too well. One variety that might be kind of interesting to look at is the Americana breed. These ones are kind of fun in their own right. They're cute, is how I would describe them. They're those birds that have those little tufts of feathers. It almost kind of looks like a little fur tufts out the sides of their face. They're super adorable looking, and the cool thing about them is they give blue eggs. So that was kind of cool. We've owned a couple of those, and it's always fun to get that random blue egg in your mix of eggs in the morning. But again, the downside to those is that they're not all that hardy. One variety that we also tried once was a what they call the Silky breed. They're kind of a more ridiculous looking animal. They look like they grow feathers on their feet a little bit. What they reminded me of was, if you'd ever seen Star Wars, they kind of remind me of a Wookiee. Just that, I don't know, they're a ridiculous looking bird. They're smaller, and what they're supposed to be good for is brooding, actually. If you've got a bunch of other chickens in your mix that are good egg layers and they're fertilized eggs, then you could be able to brood a good batch of eggs underneath these Silkies. I remember seeing a YouTube video. The first YouTube video I ever saw of a Silky was of a hen sitting brooding on a clutch of eggs, and it looked like they were dead almost. I mean, she had her head tucked under her wing, and she wasn't moving. The person was in there filming her, moving her all around, and the Silky was just not moving. Almost like, but she wasn't dead. She was just, they go into that really deep, concentrated, broody state. That was our video experience with them. So we got a couple, and we actually accidentally ended up with a rooster and a hen, and we never got a chance to see our Silky hen brood, actually, because we were going into winter. And leads me to the next thing about them is they're kind of a dumb breed. If it's super cold outside and they have access to warmth and shelter, sometimes for no reason whatsoever, the Silky will just stay outside in the cold, in the snow, and it will just freeze to death. It could possibly just stay out and freeze to death, which is what happened to ours. They had a coop, readily accessible, and they just didn't go up and ended up freezing outside. So we had the Silky rooster for quite a bit longer, but he was mostly a pain. He kept getting out of his area and wanting to go somewhere else, and we finally just decided to get rid of him because he was just too much of a pain, more of a pain than he was worth. While we're on the subject of brooders, Bantam Americana mix. I don't know if maybe we just lucked out on the breed. It was about the size of a bantam hen. They were quite a bit smaller. What we loved about these were the fact that they were really good at brooding. They were our two best brooders. One year, they went broody 3 different times in the course of the laying season. For a good while, that was how we were raising, or how we were hatching our chicks for the next generation. Those 2 hens may very well have hatched out anywhere from 40 to 50 of our chicks that we've raised. And I would just put, 7, 8, 9 eggs underneath them at a time, and they had a pretty good hatch rate. So I don't know if you can, if that was just a fluke of a breed that happened to get mixed, and we got lucky when we bought them from the lady that we bought them from, but that was by far and away our best brooders. They were small, but they brood very well. Almost done with the breeds here. We got the black Australops, which that is some of them, or Australops, I guess. I don't know, I've heard them pronounced both ways. That's some of the chickens that we have out in our garden right now. The good thing about them is they are fairly hardy. Supposedly they lay a decent amount of eggs. They're supposed to lay, I don't know, somewhere like 300 eggs a year is what I've heard. We haven't really had that experience with them just yet. It's not exactly egg laying season, but the good thing about them is that they are fairly meaty looking. They look fairly hardy, and they are decent enough egg layers. They seem fairly friendly, not super aggressive. Something we're still figuring out how we feel about them, I think. These ones right here, we kind of adopted from my parents because they just didn't want to keep chickens anymore, and they offered them to us, and we was like, yeah, sure, we'll take care of them. If they lay any eggs, we'll give them to you. We're gonna wait until next season to see just how good at egg laying they might be. But so far, we're pleased with them. And that brings us to our last breed, and my favorite breed is the Barred Rock. That's a lot of what we see out here. There's that black and white, grayish colored chicken. They are a very hardy chicken. They've done phenomenally well through our harsh winters. They're really good to stand up to the heat. They're really decent at egg laying, and when it comes time that some of them get old and are past that egg laying age, we like to butcher them. And I'll just say this, for an all-purpose chicken, they give the most meat of any of them. They're fairly bulky for an all-purpose chicken. So those are the ones that we probably like the most out of all of the chickens that we've raised, is the Barred Rock. As far as if you're looking for versatility, I would say our 3 favorite ones are the Rhode Island Reds, the black Australops, and the Barred Rocks. Now, of those 3, what you want to be mindful of if you own the Rhode Island Reds is be wary of the roosters if you have any, because they can be super aggressive. Even the hens might be a little bit more so aggressive than any or other hen varieties. So that's something that you really want to be careful of, especially if you have small children. You might want to steer clear of this breed and stick with some more friendly breeds. Just be wary of the roosters. Egg laying is okay, and they're fairly hardy, and they're decent enough size for meat. The black Australops, again, they're very friendly. They're supposedly decent egg layers, and again, they're a little bit more bulky than, say the Silky or the Americana breeds, certainly, or the Leghorns. The Australops are definitely more meaty than all of those, and they're supposedly good egg layers. But the Barred Rock, again, would be, of those 3 favorite kinds, the Barred Rock takes the cake by far and away, because they're, again, that bulky, meaty, very hardy through the winter, friendly enough, and they give great eggs. So that would be the #1 breed that I would suggest you own if you're looking for that, again, that versatile, all-purpose backyard type of chicken. Well guys, thanks for joining me for that review of our different picks and varieties of bird. It was kind of a longer list and kind of a little bit more in depth, but hopefully you'll find this video helpful in trying to determine what kind of birds you might like to own if you're just barely looking to get into owning chickens for yourself, which we would highly recommend you do. That hopefully this helps you narrow down your search a little bit. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, please, if you haven't already. It's just one click away. Look back on our channel for some more videos on chickens and a whole bunch of other stuff. We've got a whole variety of stuff we like to do here on our homestead. That does it for this video, and we hope to see you again real soon in the next video. Take it easy.